Nancy Pelosi isn't wasting any time going after your gun rights. Speaker Pelosi is using the event on January 6th, where protesters entered the Capitol building, as a pretext to attack the Second Amendment. But she isn't going directly after your guns. She's targeting pro-gun members of Congress who have been vocal about their support for the Second Amendment. I'm Phil Raboli, and host of the Minuteman Moment. Instead of going after your Second Amendment, Nancy Pelosi is attacking the Second Amendment rights of our members of Congress. And if Pelosi is this aggressive in shredding her co-workers' rights, you'll know she'll be even more hostile in destroying your rights. In a previous video, we talked about Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's effort to legally carry a firearm in the Capitol buildings. As you know, it is legal for members of Congress and their staff to carry a firearm in the Capitol buildings. But Speaker Pelosi is using the failure of Capitol Police to not only humiliate members of Congress who want to carry in the Capitol, but also to bankrupt them. Here's the backstory. Late last year, 21 House Democrats asked Speaker Pelosi to change the rules that allow members of Congress to carry a firearm in the Capitol building. But GOA, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, and 82 members of Congress pushed back, committing to their Second Amendment right to carry. We were successful, but that hasn't stopped Speaker Pelosi. After the Capitol protest of January 6th, she instituted new security protocols, including telling members of Congress to walk through metal detectors prior to entering the House chamber. Apparently, she thinks metal detectors would have stopped the protesters, which they would not have, and that her fellow members of Congress pose a threat. Members of Congress ignored these protocols, so she's taking it a step further. Speaker Pelosi is now threatening to force a vote to require fines on members of Congress who don't go through the new metal detectors and submit to additional screening before entering the House floor. Pelosi is charging $5,000 for the first refusal and $10,000 for subsequent refusals. But not only is the fine system unconstitutional, but Article 1, Section 6 of the Constitution forbids the arrest or detention of a member of Congress on their way to a vote or debate. There are exceptions to this constitutional rule, and that's if members are committing treason, felony, or a breach of the peace. And carrying a firearm for personal protection doesn't come close to any of those. Someone should tell Nancy Pelosi that federal law even exempts members of Congress and staff from Capitol Police's gun ban during the lawful discharge of official duties. What this really comes down to is intimidation and blackmail. Members are being forced to choose between tens of thousands of dollars in fines or exercising their rights. And this Congress has some real liberty-minded pro-gun members. For example, Representative Richard Hudson introduced H.R. 38, the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2021, with an incredible and bipartisan 154 original co-sponsors on the first day of the 117th Congress. If passed, H.R. 38 would allow every concealed carry holder to carry in our nation's capital, as well as every other state in the nation. These representatives are already fighting hard for your Second Amendment rights. Threatening their salaries and detention by police for not going through a metal detector is a clear attempt to scare them into submission. But fines and detention aren't the only tactics being used. Some members of Pelosi's caucus accused duly elected members of Congress of being in league with the insurrectionists who love to carry their guns. That's what they think of members of Congress who want to exercise their constitutional rights in accordance with federal law. So the anti-gunners will bankrupt members of Congress, detain them by police, and threaten their safety by basically accusing them of treason. If this is how Nancy Pelosi and her anti-gun compatriots are going to treat their colleagues, how do you think they'll treat you? Will they respect your freedoms? Use the link below and tell your congressman to fight Pelosi's Capitol Hill gun ban. Let them know, if they let Nancy Pelosi ransack any article or amendment to the Constitution to infringe on their constitutional rights, imagine how much worse she'll treat the American people's right to keep and bear arms. If members of Congress fail to recognize and oppose these illegal and unconstitutional infringements on their own rights, they can never be counted on to recognize and defend the rights of the people. That's it for this week. I'm Phil Raboli with Gun Owners of America and host of the Minuteman Moment.